I had been driving for the past hour and was growing sleepy. I still had 3 hours to go before I reached my hometown, and I didn't think I was going to make it without falling asleep at the wheel. I looked at the clock on my dash. It was 2:30, and I decided that I would stop at the next hotel that I saw and just called it a night and head home first thing in the morning. It wasn't long before I saw a massive-looking hotel on the next exit. I looked around over an old bridge, and there I was in the parking lot of this surprisingly well-kept large 4-story hotel. The hotel looked like it was built in the early 1900s. I thought it would be cool to go home in the morning and tell my friends that I had stayed the night at a wickedly creepy old hotel. Once inside, I was taken back by the Victorian-style interior of the hotel. The entrance was like an older grand ballroom. Everything was pristine and clean with huge chandeliers hanging from the ceiling illuminating the ground level with a warm amber glow. I checked in at the front desk and was shocked to learn that I would have to pay $225 for a room. This wasn't your ordinary cheap hotel. It turns out it was a historical hotel, but since I was already there, I decided to just pay for the room and take the hit. My room was on the 4th floor, but considering how small and antiquated the elevators were, I decided to take the stairwell just to be safe. When I got to the top of the large staircase, I noticed that my room was at the end of the hallway, so once in my room I was quite delighted at how nice it was, and definitely had a certain nostalgic appeal despite the old musky feel of the place, which kind of reminded me of an old library. Deciding to call it a night, I got into bed and was soon sound asleep. So sometime during the night it began to storm because I was woken by thunder and rain splattering on the windows, which was then followed by flashes of lightning. I rolled over as another flash of lightning shot through the room, illuminating a figure at the foot of my bed, but as quickly as the shadow appeared it was gone. Startled, I sat up in bed, clearing my thoughts, and reluctantly got out of bed to investigate. I quickly dismissed this as a figment of my overactive imagination. The hotel was beautiful in its own right, but it held a lot of old creepy elements within its walls that had somehow seeped its way into my consciousness. Not finding anything out of the ordinary, I went back to sleep. As the thunderstorms grew louder again after an hour or so of sleep, I was jarred awake by a sound. This time it sounded like somebody was knocking from inside the large closet next to the bathroom. When I finally got the courage to get up to investigate, the knocking had stopped. I stood there looking at the door that was ajar, imagining what could be lurking behind it. As my heart began to thump, I reached for the door and swung it open. To my relief, the closet was empty, but I had heard knocking from the closet door. This was starting to become very unsettling. Before returning to bed, I checked the front door. I reluctantly opened it and noticed that my hands were shaking as I poked my head out and looked. I caught a glimpse of a woman. She seemed to be wearing old clothes and had long black hair. I wondered if I was simply seeing things at this point. Maybe it was her who had knocked on my door, and I had mistakenly assumed that the sound came from the closet. Maybe she was simply trying to find her room. I shut the door and tried to assure myself I was safe before returning to bed. As I pressed my head against the pillow, I couldn't shake the feeling that somebody was watching me. I decided to keep my eyes on the closet door. That, to my surprise, was again slightly open. It was then that I began to feel something breathing on the back of my neck. I kept my eyes on the closet door as it slowly began to creak open. I held my breath in fear. The door opened all the way. As the warm sensation on the back of my neck intensified, I twisted around to see a horrifying half-decayed woman in bed with me. I jumped from the bed and ran down the hall, descending the stairs as quickly as I could. When I got to the front desk, I told the clerk that somebody was in my room. When I told her it was room 404, she frowned and immediately apologized. Apparently, I had been given the wrong keys by mistake. Nobody had been in that room for years, as the hotel had limited access due to multiple complaints of a scary woman haunting the room's occupants. I was informed that back in the early 1900s a woman had died in that very room and had been haunting it ever since. I asked the employee to retrieve my belongings. As I refused to go back into the room, I was given a new room on the 1st floor, and that would be the last time I would ever spend the night at the Crescent Hotel.